welcome to the next Africa Hotel Investment Forum AHIF podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to bringing you views and news on all things hotel and hospitality related for the African continent. Today, I'm with Rahul Chaudhary, the Managing Director and CEO of CG Corp Global and CG Hospitality Holdings. Welcome, Rahul. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Matt. I think this conversation was long coming. We should have done this before, but better late than never. I'm so glad to be in this conference itself. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have been a fond believer, and I've been a fond, I would say, attendee of all the bench events. And for the record, it's amazing how you guys put up all the shows you guys do over so many years. And bench events is one of the events that I attend all over the world, I must tell you. So the content, the participants, the leadership, and the content that you guys bring about is fascinating. So it's great to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for the plug. I'll give you the cash afterwards. But no, I really appreciate it. You've been a wonderful supporter of everything we've done in the Middle East and Africa up to now, and thanks very much. And look, for those who aren't aware of you or even CG Hospitality Holdings and CG Corp, tell us a little bit about the organisation, yourself, and what you've been doing up to date, especially obviously in Africa.
Sure. CG Corp Global is a privately held, multi-dimensional, multinational conglomerate based out of Nepal. And our roots are from Nepal, I would say. And we are spread across almost 12 different business verticals, all the way from FMCG, education, hydropower, telecom, banking, insurance, finance, real estate, hospitality, amongst a few. Until recently, even electric vehicles. So we are spread across, in short, we are spread across almost 35 different countries. And we have a workforce of over 15,000 members, family members, I would call them. And we have almost about 120 companies and over 50 different brands under our belt. And just from our perspective of the group, proudly so, and with all sense of modesty and humility, we are the only group, the only multi-billion-dollar group from Nepal featured in the Forbes list since 2013. So I think we've done okay. And we continue to move forward from strength to strength. In terms of our hospitality specifically, Matt, we are spread across 12 countries with our hotels. We have about 150 plus hotels as we speak. And in all different categories, all the way from budget to mid-market to luxury to wellness to adventure, safari. And that brings me to the next point about Africa. So actually, I don't know if you recall, the first time I think I ever met you was in Rwanda. And it was many, many years back when we had first set up our first hotel in Kigali. Right, actually, it's in the most prime location right behind Mykolaiv, which was I'm not sure if it's still the Kempinski, but it was the Kempinski at that point in time.
Yeah.
And this was part of our 5-country strategy, which we embarked in 2013. And just to keep it short, unfortunately, things didn't go too well in Rwanda. And I think I mentioned this to you at some point in time as well. But that didn't stop us at all, because we always believe that the fundamentals of East Africa are pretty strong. And it's a very, very strong market to be in. Although I know you mentioned that the topic of our discussion is more covering entire Africa, but since our expertise is more East Africa, I can shed more light on that. And our second investment, which we made, was the buyout of the two Fairmont properties in Kenya. Actually, some may call it bad timing, but I call it the best timing because we bought it the day before the world went into COVID. Right. That was on the 16th of March 2020. But I think that was a good buy for us. So the group also now owns, with some local minority partners, the Fairmont Norfolk, which is a spectacular property in Nairobi with immense history and a lot of glamour as well. And the second one is the Mara Safari Club in Masai Mara. So the group bought both these properties, and as we speak, we are looking at multiple opportunities in near Zambia, in other locations in East Africa as well, and I would say Mozambique as well. Sorry if I answered more than I was supposed, but I hope I've covered some.
No, it's really good because it took away my next question, but in some ways it also sparked off some others. First of all, with such a diverse company, is it just hospitality you've been looking into Africa?
Actually, sorry, Matt. Actually, hospitality is the first business that we have stepped into Africa with. But the group strategy is, and we already are, looking at multiple opportunities in the banking, in the FMCG space, because the group also owns the largest bank in the private sector in Nepal. And we also own a brand of instant noodles called YY. So we manufacture almost 2.5 billion packets of noodles a year, by the way.
And that's something I did not know.
And that's only, by the way, 2.5% of the global production. So, and we know about African population there, right? And I'm sure you've heard about Indomie, which is the world's largest noodle manufacturer. So we are looking at making inroads through banking as well as through our FMCG vertical also in Africa.
Okay, so coming back to obviously the hospitality in Africa, I was going to pick up obviously on the 2020 acquisition there of the Norfolk and the Fairmont Masai Mara, as that, not necessarily to ask you, about them, but I suppose the point about all of your moves into Africa at the moment have been around what I would call iconic hotels, especially the Norfolk, I suppose, is there. Is this the strategy? Are you focused on just taking on these iconic hotels, or are you looking at new build opportunities and other opportunities in the market as well, which might be a little bit sort of quasi-hospitality into adventure, that sort of thing?
Actually, Matt, just to answer your question, both the Fairmont properties came to us by chance. And, our strategy was that we wanted to acquire some brownfield assets. I mean, even the one in Kigali, as I mentioned, was a greenfield opportunity.
Yeah.
We built it from ground up.
Yeah.
So I would say that, it doesn't hurt owning a prized asset like the Norfolk, for sure. And, it's a very interesting story. I'll take 1 minute of your time and the audience time out here to tell you what destiny had in store for us. When we came in 2013, my father had brought us all to Africa, Kenya for the first time, and to also visit Masai Mara. And, we were staying coincidentally at the Fairmont Norfolk itself. And he loved the hotel so much. One fine day we were sitting at the bar, and, he told me, Rahul, my gosh, what history. I mean, what a wonderful property. I wish at some time in my life I would have the opportunity to buy this hotel, and come 3 years back. I mean, it's amazing. Yes. I mean, I would also laugh if I hear this story, but 3 years back, when unfortunately Prince Alwaleed from Kingdom Holdings was going through a sort of a difficult time in his business, and he had gone on a fire sale all across his hotels. So this opportunity landed upon us. And obviously, I was not going to let go. And we did a very good deal. And the hotel came to us. Like I said, maybe some may argue it's a bad timing, but I always argue it's good timing. But we are not restricted to only iconic properties. As we speak, we are looking at some greenfield opportunities. We are looking at operating opportunities. But I would say to some extent, Matt, that our strategy has evolved since 2013, where we were initially looking at just greenfield hotels, because we believe now that there's a lot of gestation period and a lot of pain and trouble one has to go through in a greenfield development, Whereas if you're acquiring a brownfield or a distressed opportunity, the turnaround time is much faster. So we are, in some way, I would say, iconic would be good if we get the opportunity, but we would be focusing more on distressed opportunities and distressed owners than pure greenfield. But if it's a compelling opportunity even for a greenfield, why not, right?
And does that, you mentioned obviously East Africa, does that now expand out into the West? Are you just really focused on East Africa?
Interestingly, Matt, we keep getting opportunities in multiple locations such as Ghana. We get opportunity even in South Africa, in Cape Town, even in Johannesburg. We get opportunity in Mozambique, in Zambia. So even when you call it Addis, right? Specifically Addis. But if you ask me, we how our business model works is we work sort of on a hub and spoke model. Now, what does that mean? That means that we like to set up one strong asset in a region, and we grow our team using that asset and then acquire assets all across the region. And that was the strategy even when we invested in Rwanda. Unfortunately, that's a different discussion which I will have with you over a few drinks. It'll require more than a few drinks, but just to now we may be starting the whole wheel all over again, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Because we've learned a lot about Africa. We've developed our network. We've learned about how the system works in Africa. It's a completely different ball game altogether. And I would believe that now we are more prepped to looking at assets more in East Africa. Even in East Africa, to tell you honestly, I would be a little bit cautious going back into Rwanda, obviously. But if I had to look at an asset, I would definitely look at an asset in Tanzania. Although Tanzania is going through going through a pretty difficult time itself. That's why we are looking at locations like Mozambique. We continue looking at assets in Zambia. We continue looking at assets in Ghana, Addis. So these are some of the stronger markets that we see in the region. I'm always a little bit hesitant unless it's a strategic move to look at assets in very, very mature markets. Because, we are already far behind from the curve. And why East Africa is precisely for that reason. In 2013, there were hardly any branded hotels, by the way. There were hotels, only Serena was there, which is a core Africa-centric brand. If you ask me, there was Protea, even before Marriott bought it. Right? And so there were just homebred brands which was there, and it was the right time for us to enter. So having said that, we do need to evolve our strategy also to be conducive to what the demands and supply is in the market. So that's it. I mean, that's our strategy is evolving, but we continuously look at operating assets in these markets, and we want to grow. We are here to stay, and we want to grow.
So about that growth and ambition, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years then within Africa? What's your goals there? Matt, in terms of our, sorry, my apologies for that. In terms of our strategy itself, the idea was always to have at least a scalable portfolio, and a scalable portfolio of at least 5 to 7 hotels. And then we would move on to creating a fund structure for Africa itself, focused on the markets where we are focusing. And then,
either it could be a fund structure or it
Yeah.
could be a JV structure by bringing in a partner into your joint venture and growing your footprint all across different markets as well. I'm not worried about the deal flow at all. I am more concerned about the let's say the momentum in which deals get transacted for whatever reason, whether it's the market, whether it's how the system is. I sometimes call many countries in East Africa banana republic, and they do have a pretty difficult system. And one of the most difficult systems to work in all around the world, I can tell you, was India. But when you talk about it, when we entered Africa in 2013, I did not think they were easy either. And
No.
while Rwanda was the market we chose precisely because of its systems and processes, I mean, with all due respect, I would choose to err with caution, But that's what East Africa is, as I mentioned, and emerging markets and frontier markets has been our strategy.
So a lot of it, I mean, you hear this a lot, and then, like you say, in every market, especially every sort of emerging market, there are nuances and so on. What are your learnings, I would say, about working in Africa? Where's the pitfalls? What things would you sort of look at? Say you need to look out for. What sort of things would you say are the challenges that need to be addressed when you're working in and across Africa? And I know that's a very broad brush stroke because you probably need to break it into.
No. Actually, man, it's a pretty simple answer if you really ask me. And maybe that is the fundamental in every country we go to. But the most important factor is the right partner. Because you see, we are a company from Nepal, right? And we will never be able to understand the ground realities and the culture and values and ethics and the systems in Africa, the traditions and everything, how things work there. So we have no choice but to enter such markets with partners itself. And while I don't want to go too much on our story with Rwanda, but that was a very simple case of let's say choosing your partners properly. Even in terms of, I would say, your entry into the country, it's very, very important that you choose your country from the perspective where international investors are given their due importance and are given their due, I would say, welcome. And while I keep jumping back to Rwanda, because that has been our learning for the past 12 years, right? For the past 10 years, sorry. And like I said, I will not call it a waste of time. Yes, it took us almost 8, 9 years, 7 years actually, before we bought the Fairmont. But then we completely got to know the market inside out. That's why we've been choosing our markets properly. So the areas, I would say, number one, partnership. Number two would be from the perspective of how hungry are those countries and the system to bring in international investors and how they value international investors. Number two. Number three is the banking system. The banking system is very, very critical when it comes to emerging and frontier markets. And we, in all our strategy all across the world, whenever we go into a region, we go into a region with one bank, and one bank who can support our ambitions. And when you don't have that support, you tend to be discouraged in terms of doing more. And that is again another aspect which we realized through our past experience there. Number three. Number four, I would say from a single stop solution. And what does that mean? Many countries have something called a BOI, which is like a board of investment, right? Where everything, all approvals, everything happens through one single forum. Registrations, approvals, tax incentives. I mean, these are all given, and it has to be there in every country to allure investors to come in. So I have noticed that in Africa, there is not a single set system. If I did not have I would hate to be the local partner. Trust me, because I have seen in my dealings in Africa. I mean, unfortunately, my local partners in Kenya have to go post to pillar to get approval to just to get things done. And that's one of the reasons why you need local partners as well, because I will never be able to do it. So I think these are the four fundamentals which are absolutely critical. I mean, these are some that are important outside, but more so in East Africa. Having the right partner, having the system that is willing to support you and welcome you. Number three is with regards to a one-stop shop, a one-stop window, which addresses all the concerns of investors and also gives them all the incentives and tax breaks and everything else that an investor would need coming to that country. Number four is your proper banking system, which is able to assist you. And if these four fundamentals are there to support you, I mean, of course, the other things like security, other things like, local laborers, local manpower, all these are part of the operations of a business. But these four fundamentals are key to any business in East Africa, I would say.
Perfect. What changes, or what single change would you say this needs to happen, or I'd like this to happen, that would make life a lot easier for working on the continent?
Leadership.
Okay.
I think leadership is the most important aspect, and that's something I have realized that, and by the way, that's the case in Nepal as well. So I'm not going to differentiate just from East Africa. And that is the biggest challenge in frontier and emerging markets. It's the leadership and the way of thinking. I mean, so often leadership gets so caught upon politics that they don't put international investment coming in, as well as the importance of international investors coming in the forefront. I mean, I can take examples of countries that go over and beyond. I mean, simple example I will give you, Matt. Take example of Jordan. It's fascinating what Jordan does in terms of addressing all these four concerns that I mentioned to you. I mean, those guys are literally with arms wide open telling you, and they lay the red carpet for you. I mean, that's what's important when you talk about the growth of a country, and we are developing a project, our wellness resort called The Farm in Jordan as well. And if that's what countries did, we would love to be in every single country in East Africa, trust me. But there has to be the support that is given by the leadership. Everything that I mentioned to you, the four aspects, it all has to do with the right leadership who can guide you. Because think of it this way. To me, I am a tourist, right? When a tourist is in a country, what do you expect? You expect guidance in terms of the places to visit. You need guidance in terms of the local attractions. Similar story for even a businessman. When he comes in, he's literally coming in naked, right? You're supposed to know what all are the incentives there, what all are the opportunities there, what all needs to be done. I mean, I would love to meet with the leadership in these countries to really understand how things should be done in the country. So most important is leadership. And of course, when I say what all are the other changes, it's these four areas itself that I mentioned to you, which needs to be addressed. And even from a banking perspective, I strongly believe that the banking sector in East Africa is still quite premature, if you ask me. And you need to have the stronger banking structures to come into the country to also boost FDI and also to boost the overall economic development.
So finally, let's have a look at how things are at the moment for you as well. How are the Norfolk and the Maasai properties operating? Have you seen a sort of comeback? Is there a different tour? Is there a different feel to any of them? One performing better than the other? That sort of thing.
Sure. No, as I mentioned that, the moment we took over both the properties in March
You were
16,
closed.
2020, right?
You
So,
opened them
but
closed.
we actually, we closed both the properties in May, by the way. And there was a reason why we fundamentally had to do that. Obviously, because of COVID, because we couldn't pay our bills. There is no doubt about it. But why I say it was an opportunity for us, Matt, is purely from the perspective that any legacy hotels, your biggest cost is payroll and labor.
Yeah.
And we had to literally clean up the entire system itself in order to just survive. I mean, can you imagine a hotel like Norfolk had its payroll cost almost 40% of the top line? That is unheard of. But what to do, right? I mean, that's what legacy hotels carry. And we closed the hotel. Obviously, the hotels needed some refurbishment to be done, which we have done. You must please stay at the Norfolk as our guest next time you are there, and Mara as well. We've done a lot of work in the public areas, and we have a plan of action for the rooms and so on and so forth. We started the Mara property in July last year. And of course, it was the first year, so it had its own teething issues, not to mention about the flooding, which happened in Mara, because of which the property got damaged. And then we had to obviously redo the property all over again, which we did. And now Mara is really, really doing well, because obviously the season is also supporting us. The Great Migration is here from June all the way to August. So that helps us for sure. And that's what helped us even when we started last year. Norfolk, we just started on the 1st of April, and that has also been quite good for us. And business is coming back. But once again, I would say that countries in East Africa did not handle the COVID situation well at all. And we are seeing the repercussions now. Markets have obviously opened. Travels have also slowly started opening. So we will see the effect of things turning back to normal, I would say, next year. So we have to be a little bit patient. We've been patient so far, but we are quite confident about Kenya because it is the gateway to East Africa. And we are quite sure that the businesses will do well over a period of time. Also keep in mind that Kenya has 3 Fairmont properties, one in Mount Kenya, one in Nairobi, one in Masai Mara. All 3 properties sold together goes pretty well. And Mount Kenya is also going to open, not ours, it's owned by the Humphreys. And that property is also going to open very soon, because anyone who comes to East Africa, to Kenya more so, they come to visit all the whole circuit. That's what they do. So I believe all these are in motion, and things should be better sooner than later.
Well, I think in some ways, this whole idea of experiential travel has sped up so fast, it seems, over the last couple of years. And let's face it, the Masai Mara is one of the most iconic, beautiful places on Earth. So you can't sort of imagine that not doing well in the future, and maybe even different experiences sort of coming out of that part of the world as well. I think finally, let's focus on November and at the event. You mentioned right at the beginning you've been a wonderful supporter of that. What are you hoping? This year is first time back for us for 3 years as well. We didn't get to do the event in 2020, so this is the first time. In fact, I think it might be our 10th event. It's not our 10th anniversary, but it might be. I'm so confused with it all. But this is an opportunity for the industry to get back. What do you hope it brings Africa this year?
I'm actually hoping for a huge sense of optimism, a huge sense of hope from our entire fraternity. You know very well that our hospitality fraternity is the most resilient fraternity, I would say, in any sector around the world. And we withstood all national and international and global calamities and pandemics one can imagine. We get into it first and we get out of it first. So, I would like to definitely exchange ideas with leaders in terms of how we can coexist, in terms of how we can work together to rise above the current situation. because we all are in the same boat, but in a different boat in our own ways. In different countries, we are facing the same challenges in our own ways. And the only way we can get out of it is through exchanges of information, exchanges of ideas, exchanges of experiences. Because, there are many ways one country has handled one aspect well, which the other has not. And to understand how that has happened will be critical in terms of talking to the leadership in our countries of expertise as well. And as I mentioned, I keep going back to the 4 fundamentals. I hope to be able to discuss those fundamentals with our peer group and our fraternity to see how these issues can be tackled. I mean, you asked me a fundamental question, what are the things that can be done to address this? And I said leadership. We cannot always, by the way, also blame leadership. It is us also who are equally responsible to assist the leadership to get and meet their objectives.
Well, I think the industry has always found a way, but if leadership can smooth it,
absolutely,
that would be a nice
thing. Makes things
thing.
easier.
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, Rahul, thank you so much for sharing today your thoughts and ambitions. I wish you all the best of luck, and more importantly, I really look forward to seeing you again and sharing that beer with you in November.
Many beers, huh? Thank you so much, Matt. Really, really appreciate your time, and thanks Bench Events again for this wonderful opportunity. It feels so good to be with you all. It's like family to me, and I look forward to attending many, many more wonderful and productive events that you guys put up. God bless and thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rahul.